Chapter 1726, Musical Harmony. Boom. Like a meteor shower, Zhang Yi's barrage completely covered the top of the Great Snow Mountain, and the dense rain of bullets flattened the entire snow mountain. Whoosh. A residual image rushed down from the Great Snow Mountain in a panic. Yiksha had already put on his combat uniform, but his combat uniform had been cut into countless holes, and blood flowed out along his feet. He gritted his teeth, with an incredible look in his eyes. As a black chariot-level alien, his ability index was as high as 22,000 points. Looking at the entire Barada, he is also one of the top masters. But he was so powerful that he was beaten all over by the Huashu country alien in front of him. The most terrifying thing is that it was not a single attack, but a range attack covering the entire Great Snow Mountain. When the energy distribution is not dense enough, the reduction of attack power is inevitable, but even so, it broke his sound barrier and hurt his body. Who is this guy? Who is he? Yiksha asked frantically, and the intelligence system equipped in the combat suit immediately responded to him. According to the ability and strength analysis shown by the opponent, the only person in Huashu country who meets the standard is the alien codenamed Chaos. Preliminary judgment, his ability index is above 28,000 points. Upon hearing this news, Yiksha's eyes widened, and his pupils shrank to the size of rice grains. 28,000. How is it possible? Didn't Huashu country just experience a war, and all the top aliens were seriously injured? But he doesn't look like he was injured at all. The intelligence system could only say to him, "It seems that there is an error in our intelligence." Yiksha roared loudly. Error. You are so relaxed, but this is not going to kill me. The intelligence system could not give him an answer because they only made the most reasonable judgment based on the existing intelligence. But Zhang Yi is an outlier himself. Zhang Yi looked down from above and caught the fleeing Yiksha. He pulled the trigger again without hesitation. The barrage fell like a rainstorm. Yiksha was so fast that his figure could hardly be caught by the naked eye, but Zhang Yi did not need to know where he was. As long as the attack covered the entire range, he only needed his attack to slightly touch Yiksha to seriously injure him. The absolute gap in strength meant that Zhang Yi did not have to worry at all. But Yiksha looked much more embarrassed. He fled desperately and did not even dare to raise the courage to resist. 22,000 versus 28,000? Only when you have absolute intelligence and the advantages of time and place, there is a possibility of fighting. And there is no chance of fighting in an encounter. Zhang Yi's barrage swept across a large area in an instant. Yiksha desperately vibrated the tuning forks in both hands. Music synchronization can use sound waves to form a fatal killing move. At this time, he only wanted to resist Zhang Yi's indiscriminate attack. But the effect of doing so was not very good. Soon his music synchronization was directly swallowed up by Zhang Yi's bullets. Slowly, Zhang Yi also made a judgment. His ability is activated by sound, so light won't be a problem. That's easy. His tactical mask turned from black to transparent. Zhang Yi looked down from the sky, put down the divine refining in his left hand, and raised the divine refining in his right hand to aim at the bottom. The powerful power of the void condensed in his palm, and then gathered in the ammunition compartment of the divine refining. The use of thermal weapons is to gather powerful energy materials in one place, and then ignite and release them instantly. For a long time in the past, the development speed of the firearms in Zhang Yi's hands could not keep up with his own strength. Because of the excessive power, even E-metal can be twisted and destroyed. But now with the divine refining with full strength and toughness, this problem has been perfectly solved. The power of the void continued to condense in the divine refining, and the power that almost destroyed everything made Zhang Yi's heart slowly excited. The Yiksha, who was still fleeing, was even colder. He directly blasted the snow mountain and fled desperately towards the underground. Zhang Yi locked his approximate position with an indifferent expression, and then pulled the trigger directly. Boom! A terrifying black light roared out from the muzzle, like a black dragon swooping down on the earth, and fell into the Great Snow Mountain in an instant. The next moment, the Great Snow Mountain split apart like paper, and with the Great Snow Mountain as the center, The earth within a radius of dozens of miles also cracked inch by inch. A terrifying force swept the broken earth up into the sky, and the black light enveloped everything within a radius of dozens of miles. Everything within the range turned to dust. Yiksha's body lost its cover and was thrown out like garbage. All the covers on his body disappeared, and he was naked and in a mess. Blood flowed out of his mouth in large quantities. His speed was already fast enough, and he was still several kilometers away from the center of the explosion, but the aftermath of this attack alone seriously injured him. Yu. His body fell fiercely on the ground, his eyes fixed on Zhang in the sky, full of disbelief. In another direction, Maharaga was already entangled with Liangyu. His ability is to transform into a giant snake demon, which can control the earth and underground volcanoes. The earth broke, trembled, closed, and could also detonate the earth's core fire for attack. This was a very difficult opponent for Liangyu, who was in the reinforcement system. Because after leaving the ground, it would be difficult for the reinforcement system alien to exert force. Liangyu was still fighting with him, and Maharaga suddenly received a signal for help from Yiksha. His heart tightened immediately. Yiksha was much stronger than him. If it was an opponent that even Yiksha couldn't deal with, he would probably find it difficult to deal with it. However, he had an ability that Yiksha couldn't match. That was the earth walking technique. He could dive deep into the earth, and with this ability, many aliens who were stronger than him could not chase him. The two had an agreement that once they encountered a strong enemy that they could not compete with, Maharaga would take Yiksha away. Maharaga knew that Yiksha was a guy who didn't know the danger. Once Yiksha started to ask for help, it meant that the situation was really difficult to solve. His huge body twisted wildly under the earth, and then swam in the direction of Yiksha. He was as flexible as a fish in water in the hard soil and rocks. Seeing this, Liangyu squatted down to sense the vibration moving away. His eyes immediately turned cold, and he chased after him with a knife. Zhang saw that. Yasha was seriously injured at this time. He did not drag his feet at all. The muzzle of the gun gushed out black light, and the dense barrage directly covered him. At this moment, the ground under Yasha made a loud noise.
Boom.
The ground under his feet collapsed completely. Yasha's body fell suddenly, and a huge black hole appeared under him. Chapter 1727 Chasing to the Border. Yiksha fell into the endless abyss. It was the power of Maharaga that allowed him to dodge Zhang Yi's attack at the critical moment. Boom! The black stars covered the entire land, breaking it into pieces and sinking it, but all the power was absorbed by the earth. At this time, Yiksha had already entered the depths of the earth, and only the aftermath of the power made him tremble with fear. Maharaga's huge body passed under the earth, and soon came under Yiksha and caught him. Cough, 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 cough. Yiksha coughed up blood. At this time, he was not hit directly by Zhang Yi, but only because Zhang Yi was too cautious and chose a long-range and large-scale attack. But just the aftermath of the attack had already seriously injured him. Yiksha, how did you become like this? Maharaga said as he drilled deeper into the earth. Although he didn't know what was going on, he knew that escaping as soon as possible was the best option. That guy is the top-notch warrior in Huashu country. His strength is far stronger than you and me. We are no match for him at all. Damn it, the information they provided us is wrong. There are still strong warriors in Huashu country who are intact. Let's go. Rumble. Maharaga also realized the seriousness of the problem at this time, and did not dare to delay for a moment, and quickly swam deep into the earth. Zhang Yi was floating in the sky at this time, overlooking the huge abyss below, his eyes as cold as snow. Swish! Liangyu rushed here and frowned when he saw the situation in front of him. Earth walking technique? They can't run away. I said they must die, so they must die, Zhang Yi said coldly. He opened the 10,000 things and took Liangyu to fly underground quickly. But after entering the underground, he was also dumbfounded. At this time, due to the activities of Maharaga, huge caves were everywhere under the earth, and it was impossible to judge which road he left from. Obviously, the other party also guessed that Zhang Yi would track his position through the tunnel. Zhang Yi frowned slightly and then asked the intelligence system, "Can you lock their position?" The intelligence system gave Zhang Yi a disappointing answer. The other party has entered deep under the earth, and the speed of movement is too fast. With our current means, we cannot accurately determine their position. Liang Yu said at this time, "Let me do it." Zhang Yi glanced at Liang Yu, and Liang Yu's mouth curled up slightly. Don't underestimate the perception ability of a martial arts master. Liang Yu closed her eyes after saying this and fell into a state of meditation. In the state of unity between heaven and man, her heart can reach the state of still water, and her sensitivity to the surrounding world is extremely sensitive. Soon, she caught a trace of fluctuations in the dark world around her. And in her meditation world, that trace of fluctuations became more and more obvious. Liang Yu's eyes suddenly opened. Found them. Zhang Yi directly grabbed her hand. Guide the direction. Liang Yu pointed her right hand to the left front, and Zhang Yi activated the ability of Space Shuttle. Without hesitation. Maharaga's speed is very fast, but no matter how fast it is, it cannot surpass the crossing that ignores the distance of space. Liang Yu was responsible for guiding the way, and Zhang Yi was responsible for tracking. Soon, the cave in front of them became clear and single. When Maharaga moved under the earth, it was inevitable that a huge passage would be left behind. I found you. Zhang Yi's eyes were filled with a cold smile. However, he did not rush to attack. If he attacked under the earth, his strength would be weakened by the thick layer of soil and rocks. Anyway, at the current speed, he would soon catch up with the other party. No, they're catching up? Yiksha's face changed suddenly. As an alien who controls the rhythm of music, he is extremely sensitive to sound. Even though he was still far away, he had already sensed the rhythm from the earth and rocks. A burst of golden light suddenly burst out from Maharaga's eyes. He opened his mouth and let out a long and distant roar.
Boom.
The surrounding earth shook violently. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu were chasing, and suddenly the world in front of them became extremely dazzling. Golden magma emerged from the depths of the earth and rushed straight to the faces of the two. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes slightly. The tactical mask blocked the strong light. The magma seemed dangerous, but in fact it was all swallowed up by the alien space. Zhang Yi didn't care and continued to chase forward. This level of attack was meaningless to him. The earth was shaking. Maharaga was the master of the earth. He could control the strata and even cause volcanic eruptions. However, this kind of physical attack, even under his unique land, could hardly threaten Zhang Yi. The gap between the white chariot and the bishop level was like a natural moat. They are closer. Yiksha suddenly issued a dangerous warning. Maharaga's eyes became extremely serious, and his forehead began to sweat. The threat of death was gradually approaching. He had to take a snake-like approach under the earth, constantly changing his position, and then using his ability to make the strata move violently to interfere with Zhang Yi and Liang Yu's pursuit. But this clumsy method could not hinder Zhang Yi and Liang Yu at all. Night Yiksha could feel that there seemed to be a huge shadow of the devil behind him, and it was about to devour them. He raised the two tuning forks in his hands high and then hit them hard.
Ding!
The music spread wildly in all directions, but no matter how many times the illusion barrier was used, it was difficult to work. Illusion, although powerful, also has its limitations. It can exist as a killer, and it can create miraculous effects at critical moments. But once the opponent is prepared, it is difficult to use. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu had already used tactical helmets to isolate the outside sound, and the two only communicated with electronic devices. So Yiksha's illusion could no longer work. Yiksha gritted his teeth. Blood kept flowing from the corners of his mouth. The Maharaga under him was running desperately. The surrounding land was constantly broken, and the killing god behind him was chasing step by step. The tuning forks in his hands suddenly changed an angle, crossed in a cross shape towards the back, and then fiercely crossed. A tooth-grinding sound instantly spread towards the direction behind him. Tuned to the rhythms, the sound waves came. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu couldn't hear it at all. But suddenly, Liang Yu's face turned pale, and she groaned. A trickle of blood slowly flowed down from the corner of her mouth. Zhang Yi's eyes suddenly condensed when he saw this scene. Liang Yu, what's wrong with you? The intelligence system reminded Zhang Yi at this time. Warning, warning. You are under a sound wave attack from an unknown source. Chapter 17:28 Half-Yaksha. Zhang Yi did not feel any attack, but the intelligence system reminded him. Liang Yu said to Zhang Yi he must have used some special means to directly attack my internal organs. I am very uncomfortable now. Liang Yu's combat uniform directly injected her with drugs. Zhang Yi frowned. Why is she fine? But I am fine. The intelligence system replied, the attack against you has been blocked by the divine refining coat. Zhang Yi lowered his head and looked at the dark silver armor on his body. The outermost layer was woven with divine plant fibers. It has extremely high strength and flexibility and can absorb most attacks against Zhang Yi.
Ding. Ding.
Yaksha's attacks continued to attack. Music synchronization is an attack with extremely strong penetration. It can even penetrate armor, combat uniforms, and skin, directly causing resonance of the human internal organs and then tearing the internal organs. If Zhang Yi did not have the divine refining to protect his body, he would have been accidentally hit. Of course, before that, tracing of all things would give him a reminder 2 seconds in advance. After Zhang Yi knew this, he directly let Xinlian extend more vines to wrap up Liang Yu's body. Plants have a good tolerance for absorbing such sound waves, and Xinlian is not worried about being destroyed. Anyway, as long as the main body does not die and Zhang Yi's ability output continues, it can regenerate infinitely. Yaksha's attack is no longer effective. 5 seconds later, Zhang Yi has come to a range of about 5 kilometers away from them. Zhang Yi directly drew his gun, and the terrifying black void power permeated in the black vortex and then gathered on the dark silver gun. After a simple accumulation of power, the black energy spiral made the entire gun body rise with a lingering black smoke. The faces of Maharaga and Yaksha who were heading forward were pale, and the feeling of being shrouded in the crisis of death made their limbs cold. Run! Yaksha urged the Maharaga under him loudly. At this moment, Maharaga exerted his ability of earth walking to the most extreme state of his life and dived madly. Star cannon! Zhang Yi spoke coldly and then pulled the trigger. A jet of dark energy gushed out from the muzzle of Xinlian's gun, but this time it was no longer a thin black line. Instead, it was a black death light that roared like a dragon, covering the inverted cone area. Under the earth, the eyes could not see, and the speed of Maharaga was indeed fast enough. This is his home court, and Zhang Yi has no advantage. His only advantage is just a lead of more than 10,000 points in the Supernatural Power Index. So, he chose to strike indiscriminately. Any fancy ability is meaningless in the face of an absolute strength gap. This attack directly caused all the soil and rocks in front to be swallowed up by the void, and the black light passed through everything without hindrance, and in an instant it enveloped the area where Yaksha and Maharaga were. The fear of the two was clearly written on their faces. Yaksha, unwilling to die, desperately vibrated his tuning fork. Ding 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 ding. Because the knocking speed was too fast, afterimages appeared on his hands, and the energy of the sound waves spread forward layer by layer, like waves. But in front of the black light that was approaching in an instant, the layers of sound waves were swallowed up completely before they could stop for a moment. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu looked at the huge underground cave that was open up in front of them, and they came to the front through a space shuttle. Then he saw the miserable corpse on the ground. The upper body of Yaksha had been completely swallowed by the power of the void, leaving only the lower body wrapped in rocks. There were some biological tissues wrapped in rocks not far away. Zhang Yi's attack was quite fierce, and even Yaksha's origin was almost shattered. Fortunately, he now has a special metal tank that can store energy bodies. He collected the origin in time and threw it into the different space. What about the other one?
Dead.
Zhang Yi said, looking at the huge biological tissues on the ground. They looked like pieces of petrified snake remains. Liang Yu closed her eyes, then opened them and said to Zhang Yi, "No." He fled deeper. Like an annoying earthworm. It's really annoying. Zhang Yi smiled slightly. "Don't worry. Let's chase him slowly." Seeing Zhang Yi's unhurried look, Liang Yu couldn't help but ask curiously, "Zhang Yi, aren't you worried that he will cross the snow mountain range and escape back to Barada?"
Zhang Yi
Turned his head and looked at Liang Yu, smiling faintly. "Isn't this exactly what I want to see?" Liang Yu's eyes slowly widened, and at this moment she understood what Zhang Yi wanted to do. How could he do what he wanted just by eliminating the invaders of Barada? What he wanted was to use this as an excuse to directly attack Barada's territory and then teach those ignorant guys a lesson. Barada's strength should not be underestimated, and it may be dangerous to do so. Zhang Yi nodded. If they are fully prepared and respond with all their strength, this is of course a very risky behavior. But I guess none of them expected me to appear here. Not only did I kill all the aliens they sent, but I also counterattacked their lair. Zhang Yi pinched his index and middle fingers with the thumb of his left hand, making two crisp click sounds. Besides, it's not that I look down on them. Now I can turn the whole of Barada upside down, because Zhang Yi at this time was already a bishop-level person with an ability index of 30,000 points. He continued to chase in the direction of Maharaga. This time Zhang Yi did not rush to kill him, but let Maharaga flee to Barada's territory like a frightened bird. Maharaga was already scared out of his wits, and he regretted his participation in the mission of invading Huashu Kingdom this time. Feeling the pressure of the god of death chasing behind him, his blood was cold and his brain was blank. The sense of crisis of death made him have no time to think normally. He only had one clear idea: escape. Yes, escape. As long as he escaped back to Barada's territory, then with the current situation of Huashu Kingdom, he would not dare to expand the contradiction between the two countries. The 8 tribes of Barada are now intact, and they are in a great advantage against the foreigners of Huashu who suffered heavy casualties. No matter how he thought about it, the chaos behind him would not have the courage to pursue to Barada's territory. Moreover, the foreigner troops in their operation this time, Yaksha died in the battle, and all other elite troops also died there. Such a price should allow Huashu to stop while it is good. Thinking of this, Maharaga's eyes showed a look of expectation. As long as he crossed the border between the two countries and reached the other side, he would be safe. Chapter 1729 Cannon City. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu chased Maharaga. He was not in a hurry, just hanging behind Maharaga, putting pressure on him.
Boom.
In the middle of the huge snow-capped mountain, a huge avalanche occurred on the mountain peak where the snow had not melted for thousands of years. The mountainside was smashed, and a huge black snake flew out from the mountainside and quickly fell into the distance. Following the large amount of snow that collapsed in the avalanche, he rushed towards the territory of Barada at a very fast speed. Maharaga finally breathed a sigh of relief at this time. Sniffing hard, he seemed to be able to smell the wonderful curry mixed with cow dung in the air. Safe, Maharaga thought with a sense of relief. But at this moment, the chill behind him that chilled him to the bone reappeared. Your feet have stepped on the land of Huashu country. No matter where you escape today, you must die for me. After hearing this voice, Maharaga's blood turned cold. He turned around and saw Zhang Yi, whose eyes were as cold as the god of death. He shouted in surprise, "I have already fled back to Barada. Why are you chasing me? Aren't you really afraid of causing a war between the two countries?" As he spoke, he fled to Barada more vigorously, and at the same time used the intelligence system to ask for help from all the people he could contact in Barada. Zhang Yi laughed when he heard Maharaga's shameless speech. "What are you talking about? I am a peace-loving person. I just come here to kill you all, and then leave. If you are unhappy, I will apologize at most. You see, ain't reason with shameless people." Zhang Yi used to be a warehouse manager. He dealt with all kinds of people on weekdays and had seen too many such people. So he knew very well how to deal with them. "Just do it," Zhang Yi said as he pulled out the divine chain and shot at Maharaga. A black light shot at the huge snake demon back of Maharaga. Maharaga's body suddenly twisted strangely, and its body turned 360 degrees, trying to avoid Zhang Yi's shooting. But he didn't expect that Zhang Yi's attack turned in the middle, accurately predicted his dodge, and then pierced through his body.
Ah!
Maharaga let out a miserable wail, and a big hole was directly pierced through his body. Blood flowed out like a spring, and a string of hideous blood was left as he quickly passed through the ground. Damn it! You will definitely be punished by the Trimurti for offending the great Bharata. Maharaga's adrenaline surged at this time. Knowing that Zhang Yi would not give up, he began to curse angrily. Zhang Yi asked slowly, "What is the Trimurti?
Can it be eaten?"
"Oh no, you like cows so much. I guess it must be your specialty, cow dung." Zhang Yi deliberately insulted him. He knew very well how to make a person angry. Bharata is a country where politics and religion are integrated. Almost all citizens believe in Bharataism, and the Trimurti's status in their hearts is even more important than their fathers. Sure enough, after hearing Zhang Yi's words, Maharaga was furious. But anger could not make him stronger. Zhang Yi still pointed a gun at his back and beat him so hard that he ran away. Zhang Yi kept shooting as if he was strolling in the garden, leaving holes on Maharaga's body one after another. Maharaga's heart was close to despair, and the signal for help had already been sent to everyone who could send it. After receiving this news, the senior officials of Bharata were all furious.
What?
The people of Huashu dared to hunt down the 8 tribes. They are so hateful. If we don't leave him here, he will invade our Bharata territory so openly. From now on, won't everyone think that our Bharata can be bullied? Today, Bharata is the world's #1 power and has long surpassed their Huashu country. Since he dares to come, let him pay the price with blood. The senior officials in the field were clamoring, their faces full of anger. They seemed to have forgotten that they were the first to send troops to invade the southwest region. A young man in a suit in the meeting hall spread his hands helplessly, but this time, it was indeed us who sent troops first. We underestimated Huashu's determination to defend its homeland. A pot-bellied officer with a thick beard glared at him and pointed at him and said, "Rajesh, don't forget that you are a Bharata. How can you speak for Huashu at this time?" Rajesh stood up fearlessly and retorted neither humbly nor arrogantly, "General Chalmar, it was you who proposed to send troops, which caused today's conflict. So how are you going to end it now?" General Chalmar opened his arms. He's just an alien from Huashu. What can he do? Huashu has just had a war with the underground civilization. Their various regions have suffered heavy losses, and many top aliens have been killed and injured. Now, they have declined, and we Bharata are the kings of Asia. As for that ignorant Hundun, let him die here. He suddenly raised his head and said viciously, "Use the god of love to kill him, and you must kill him." They have received information from Maharaga that the alien troops sent to the southwest region, including the Yiksha of the 8 tribes, have been almost wiped out. Maharaga is the only one who has escaped back, and he is still being hunted by Hundun. Rajesh reminded, "But he is now in our country. If you use the god of love, not only will Maharaga death, and it will also implicate a large number of our people." Love death is a double-edged sword. In the era of the rise of aliens, it can only be used as the last trump card and cannot be used at will. Someone immediately said, "They have arrived in Cannon City." As soon as this was said, everyone's eyes could not help but look over. The gains and losses of a city are not so cautious for so many high-level officials. Although Cannon City is also an important town on the border, it is important because it has a 1,000-year-old temple, Jagannath Temple. It is one of the major holy places of Bharatism. According to legend, Vishnu, one of the 3 gods, once incarnated as a craftsman and personally laid the foundation for this temple. So it has been able to stand for thousands of years. Chalmar immediately said, "We must not let that guy offend the Jagannath Temple." Rajesh also said seriously, "In any case, we must not use love death against Cannon City." In the meeting room, a white-haired, Mediterranean-looking bearded general crossed his hands on the table and said slowly, "Hundun is the top alien in Huashu country. Even in Bharata, He is considered to be of upper middle level. Don't underestimate him. Since we can't use the god of death of love, then alien matters can only be solved by aliens. Notify the 8 tribes. Let them rush to Cannon City immediately and try to capture him alive. Chapter 1730, Jagannath Temple. Maharaga rushed into Cannon City, covered in
Blood.
There were hundreds of holes on his body, big and small, all of which were bleeding. If it weren't for the fact that after reaching the Ypsilon level, his life level could reach a new level and his vitality was even stronger, he would have died long ago. At this time in Cannon City, all the soldiers were assembled, wearing full sets of combat weapons, with thick cloth bands wrapped around their heads, guarding the checkpoints of Cannon City. They knew that the aliens from Huashu country were invading, but there was no fear on everyone's face, but instead they were filled with anger and strong fighting spirit. The people of Huashu dared to come to Bharata. They are simply courting death. Don't the people of that poor little country know who is the most powerful country in the world now? They must be coveting Bharata's power and wealth, so they are greedy for us, but they don't know that the great glory of the three-phase God will make their dark and shameful souls lose all the shadows to hide. Every Bharata person has such a firm belief in his heart. Bharata is the richest and most powerful country in the world. They have a cultural heritage of more than 40,000 years and are the oldest civilization in the world. After the end of the world, under the shining of the glory of the three-phase God, the 8 tribes were born, which made Bharata dominate the world. Even their high-level media have been telling them that Colombia is deeply trapped in the dire straits of the state's power struggle. Fremons has a sparse population and is not a concern. Western European countries are already dead bones in the grave and have long been abandoned by the times, and the neighboring Huashu country is even more strong on the outside but weak on the inside and can't stand a single blow. Therefore, every citizen of Bharata is proud. Therefore, in addition to anger, they are more disdainful and even pity for the invading alien from Huashu. In Cannon City, there is an alien of Ypsilon level. He is the commander of the White Elephant Army, Krama Khan. This time, Maharaga, one of the 8 tribes, fled here. He received the news at the first time. Because the distance is relatively close, Maharaga chose to flee here for help. Krama Khan is a soldier in his 50s, with a strong figure and a general's belly, like a 10-month pregnancy. Seeing the embarrassed Maharaga, he couldn't help but frown, but there was a smile in his eyes. The 8 tribes are indeed the most powerful alien organization in Bharata today, but Bharata is a country with a complicated history, and the belief in gods is also relatively scattered, with many factions. Krama Khan is not a member of the 8 tribes, and his strength is strong enough. Seeing Maharaga being defeated, he felt a bit happy about his misfortune. Maharaga, why are you so embarrassed? Krama Khan went up to him and asked knowingly. Maharaga said anxiously, chaos from Huashu is chasing me. Krama Khan, help me delay him for a while. Soon, the 8 tribes will come to support us. He gritted his teeth, his eyes full of fear and anger. Chaos actually dared to offend the believers of the three-phase God and break into the territory of Bharata. Today, he must die here. Pay for his mistakes with blood. Krama Khan sneered, and he spread his hands. If he really has the courage to break into Cannon City, then I can guarantee that he will die here. Maharaga said with a gloomy face, don't underestimate that guy. He is very powerful. Even Yaksha died in his hands. Krama Khan smiled contemptuously. Maharaga, your courage is getting smaller and smaller. Under the glory of the gods, all foreign invaders will be defeated by the righteous people of the three-phase God. Maharaga took a deep breath. He didn't want to waste words with the arrogant Krama Khan at this time. Due to the region where Bharata is located, the objects of conflict in the past 3 years of the last days are basically small countries in the surrounding areas. However, there is a huge snow-capped mountain range between it and Huashu Kingdom, and the conflict has not erupted on a large scale. Therefore, in the South Asian region, Bharata is almost hard to find an opponent. This gradually made many people arrogant and underestimate the enemy, thinking that they were already the most powerful country in the world. Even Yaksha and Maharaga, before fighting Zhang Yi, were confident that they could take over the southwest region. He raised his head and looked into the distance. In the northwest of Cannon City, on the holy mountain sat the 1,000-year-old temple, the Jagannath Temple. Bharata is similar to the southwest region, both of which are the integration of politics and religion, and there are more than 1 billion believers in the country. So they can rely on more power of faith. Maharaja immediately rushed to the Jagannath Temple to obtain the power of faith of the three-phase god to save himself. Krama Khan looked at the scarred snake with contempt in his eyes. What, 8 tribes? It's ridiculous. The glory of Bharata has been tarnished by you guys who are seeking fame. He puffed out his belly and shouted to his generals. Everyone, cheer up. Today, no matter who dares to appear near the holy city, kill them all. Yes. The loud voice echoed around Karama Khan, and everyone's face was full of confidence. At this time, Zhang Yi finally came late with Liang Yu. When he learned that Maharaja fled to Cannon City, Zhang Yi specially asked Yang Xinxin what was special about this place. After all, Bharata also has a long history. Maybe there are some things I can take back to study. Yang Xinxin quickly responded to Zhang Yi. Cannon City is known as one of the 3 holy cities of Bharata. Their Jagannath Temple is said to have a history of more than 40,000 years. There have been rumors that people have found prehistoric stone slabs in the Jagannath Temple, which record the story of the lost civilization in cuneiform. Brother, if possible, you can move the temple back directly. Zhang Yi said, Okay, since we are here, we can't go there in vain. Zhang Yi had just finished talking to Yang Xinxin and soon received greetings from Shengjing District. Meng Yuanjun was in the office at this time, rubbing his eyebrows helplessly. Hundun, did you fight to Bharata? Zhang Yi smiled and said, Yes, is there any problem? Meng Yuanjun was speechless. If it was at other times, it would not be a big deal. Huashu Kingdom is not afraid of conflict with them. It's just that at this point in time, Huashu Kingdom had just experienced a war and was seriously injured. It was indeed unwilling to conflict with other major powers. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and smiled faintly. I warned you when I took action. If I take action, things may get out of hand. You must be mentally prepared.